Good morning, everybody. I hope your coffee's as good as mine. We got a lot to talk about today. Unfortunately, some of it includes Donald Trump. So let's do this. Let's just get it over with. Good morning, everybody. It's hump day. We made it halfway through the week. Whew, we're going to do it. We're going to make it through another week. I've got a confession to make. I do. I've got a confession to make. You know, if you're on social media and you're in my audience, you've been accused of having Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. Any criticism anybody lodges against Trump, that's the go-to for the right wingers. You have TDS. Well, I'm here to tell you, I do not have TDS. I don't think about Trump when I am not presented with something that idiot is doing. I cannot tell you how much I do not have Trump derangement syndrome. I had to force myself to follow the coverage of this trial. I did. I mean, I knew I was going to have to talk about it, but oh my God, it was hard. It was hard. I didn't care. I don't care. I don't, and I'll confess to you, if Trump would just go away, I mean, like forever, go away, I wouldn't care if he wasn't convicted of anything. I mean, I wouldn't care if they dropped all the charges and he never faced a single bit of accountability if he just went away. And I'll be honest with you, I think most people feel the exact same way. Just the damage he's done and the damage the people around him, his movement has done is just, I don't think it's quantifiable, to be quite honest with you. I don't think we've lost decades of forward movement because of these people trying to drag us backwards into the dark ages. It's sad doesn't cover it. But he is running for president, and so we have to talk about it. We've got Don Snorleone, Rip Van Stinkle, or whatever you'd like to call him. I'm sure you've got your moniker for him, and let us know in the chat. By the way, since you're here, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button and hit the subscribe and the notifications button so that we can continue getting this information to you. But yeah, Don Snorleone had his day in court yesterday again. No court today. Court's out of session today. Juan Merchan has other issues that he has to deal with. Believe it or not, Trump isn't the only person in the world, and the world doesn't revolve around him. Man, I hope your coffee's as good as mine. I really do. So yesterday, Trump's pecker was leaking all over the place. And by pecker, of course, I mean David Pecker. It's the second day of his testimony, and good God, I'm telling you, the life these people lead is just not healthy. I mean, looking at these people, I mean, he looks like a walking ghost. I mean, he really does. He looks like a walking ghost. I mean, I know plenty of people their age that look great, doing great, having a great life. The way these people look is just awful. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Cliff's notes of what's happening so we can get Trump off the damn table. Because believe it or not, he's not the most important thing happening today. We've got Moyle versus Moyle versus the United States, which is the most important thing on the table today. We're going to talk about that. The SCOTUS is hearing arguments on a case that makes Dobbs look like child's play. The landscape around women's rights I hate to say this, but I believe it's about to just fall down a dark, bottomless pit of hell. This Supreme Court is just, again, no words, just no words for it. But let's get Trump out of the way. First of all, the DA had made a motion to have him held in contempt, and he's going to succeed. He asked for Trump to be fined and to be forced to remove the offending posts that he put out on Truth Social, which is going to be the part that just Trump isn't going to be able to. He's just not going to do it. He's not going to do it. That would be neuter. I don't believe Trump has the ability to actually pick his phone up, go to Truth Social, and hit the delete button on those posts. I think he's too much of a narcissist, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it. And worse, to make matters worse for himself, when he doesn't do it, the only thing left it'll be completely clear that a fine isn't enough to make him do what he has to do. Like the rest of us would have to adhere to the laws and the judge's orders and the rules of court and all the other things that you and I and every other human being on the planet has to do. Trump isn't going to do it, and they're going to end up having to jail him. And the Secret Service is already holding meetings. I mean, everybody knows where this is going. The Secret Service is already holding meetings to determine what they're going to do when Trump is held in contempt, because they know Trump cannot control himself. He just can't do it. The exchange between Todd Blanche, Trump's attorney, and Juan Merchan were just, it's surreal. It's just surreal. You've got Todd Blanche sitting there saying, look, Judge, my client is absolutely trying to adhere with your orders. Katie Carroll, I appreciate it, but it's so fun to make fun of the orange Trump. It is. It was good for a laugh for a while, but I really want him gone. I do. We need to move on beyond this. We've got to move on beyond this. But the exchanges between Todd Blanche and Judge Merchan were just surreal. Todd Blanche stood there and told Judge Merchan, my client's trying to follow your orders, sir. And Judge Merchan just blinked and just told him, point out. I mean, these are the kind of words as an attorney you never want to hear from a judge. The judge looked at him and said, you are losing all credibility. I mean, it was just, and that was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. They tried to argue that Donald Trump has a right to respond to people. And Judge Merchan said, okay, I'll listen to that argument. Show me what he was responding to when he posted this on Truth Social. The attacks on Michael Cohen and everything. I mean, they had all of them. The prosecutor just provided them all copies, Todd Blanche, Trump, Juan Merchan, Judge Merchan. Everybody had a copy of his Truth Social posts, and Judge Merchan is like holding them up, said, "Okay, show me the response, what this is responding to." And Todd Blanche was like a deer in the headlights, just a deer caught in the headlights. Katie Carroll, thank you for the support. I really appreciate you. I really do. Thank you for keeping us going. Francis Rinaldi, thanks for keeping us going. I really appreciate you. You allow me to do this full time, and I'm very grateful. But yeah, I mean, it's really simple. I mean, these people think that they live on Fox News. They think they live at Mar-a-Lago all the time, where they can just say this stuff and a bunch of morons just nod along. When you say my client was responding to a post from another individual, that's why he posted this on social media, the judge is going to ask you, okay, let me see it. Nothing. They could provide nothing that he was responding to. I mean, folks, this is just like the election interference claims that they made. You know, they said, well, we weren't treated fairly, and nobody addressed our issues. And then, no, you were given your day in court. And when asked, please produce your evidence. Nothing. And then we all know what's going to happen. We all know what's going to happen. Trump is going to turn around. He's going to walk out of this courtroom, and he's going to say exactly what he told Judge Merchan and then refuse to prove. And the galactic morons that make up MAGA are just going to nod along. Yeah, poor Trump, treated unfreely. Can't even respond. Peter Campbell says, good morning, Paul. Defendants out on bond don't have the same rights as non-defendants. That's absolutely true. I mean, you are bound by court orders. You have to, the structures within a court are so that justice can be found. I mean, it's really simple. If you are an accused, you will be given orders from the court that include, hey, you can't leave. If you want to leave this jurisdiction, the jurisdiction of this court, you will notify us and get permission. I mean, there are all kinds of rules that everyone has to follow. Appreciate the support, Rebecca. I really do. Thank you. Katie Carroll again. What a surprise. Trumpy's lawyers are liars. Yeah. It's one thing to stand in front of a microphone and say this. This was the part that was so hard for me in watching this disconnect. It's one thing to sit there in front of a microphone talking to reporters and to make allegations. You know, Elena Haba stood before the microphones the other day and said, this is nonsense. This is what lawyers do. He's being prosecuted for what lawyers do every day. No, that's just a false statement. She said, Michael Cohen was his lawyer. He was hired to fix things. We lawyers fix things. That's what we do. Michael Cohen was prosecuted for this and sent to prison. And you're standing there saying, this is what lawyers do. What is this, a confession? What are you trying to do here? We know the man went to prison for this crime. And it's, I don't mean to be, I don't know. I don't mean to be over top in the amount at which I just am just appalled by all of this, but I am. I'm appalled by it. I'm tired of it. I don't want to see it anymore. Sherry Foster, have you seen the posts on the Secret Service making plans in case you? Yeah, I was just talking about that, Sherry. Thanks for bringing it up again. I you can't stress this enough. Our U.S. Secret Service held a meeting because a former president is about to be jailed, and they know it. And they know it. Thank you, Trina. I appreciate you. Our Denmark audience there, our Danish audience there. That's a good one, Cruzy. But yeah, I just don't want to lose sight of the minutia of the back and forth. Not only do we have the contempt hearing that we're going to find out on Thursday, exactly what the punitive, we know he's going to be held in contempt. We know that. He's violated the judge's orders. He violated the gag order. They had absolutely no defense for it. He's going to be held in contempt. The question is, for how much? Is it $5,000, $10,000, $25,000? We don't know. We'll find out. He's going to be ordered to remove the posts. They are a violation of the gag order. He's going to violate that. My bet is that instantaneously, like, he'll remove them and replace them, or some stupid joke like that. But it's just, we know it's going to happen. Wait and see, folks. Thursday, we're going to find out. But that isn't the end all be all. That's just the nonsense of Trump being Trump. Trump being, he's always going to be the worst of us, just like the MAGA movement is the worst of humanity. He's always going to be the worst of us. That wasn't all of the story. The big thing that we're seeing here is, and this was the important part, for this to actually send him to jail. Thank you, Rob Ellis. I'm glad you're here, my man. Thank you. For this to actually send him to jail under this New York law, the hush money payments and the catch and kill payments to Karen McDougal, those aren't enough. The hush money payments to Stormy Daniels, those aren't enough. That's not what this trial is about. They keep calling it a hush money trial. It's not a hush money trial. This is about falsifying records within the state of New York to cover up those crimes. So to be convicted, they have to prove one of the key elements that has to be proven here is that not only did he make the hush money payments, and not only did they not pay to catch and kill these stories, but they had to do it to benefit his campaign, because that's the underlying law that got broken, is campaign finance violation. You have to make that connection. Otherwise, it would just be open up the book, show the payment. No, we're done here. No, that's not it. That's not it. It must be connected, that it was involving the campaign. And David Pecker is absolutely destroying Trump with his testimony. They had a meeting with Michael Cohen, David Pecker, and Donald Trump, in which they all agreed that since he's running, talking about the campaign, that there would be stories coming out. And they specifically said, especially about women, there would be stories coming out. And I, David Pecker, will be on the lookout for those. And they even set up an arrangement for how to contact. Who would be in charge? Michael Cohen would be in charge of meeting with you whenever you find something, David Pecker, and it's your job to actually go out and find these stories. Whenever you find one, you call Michael Cohen, and Michael Cohen will take care of it. It's ironclad. That one aspect that all of the legal eagles were afraid of. This was the one wiggle room that Trump would have to get out of this, died in court. Absolutely just died in court. I think that the prosecutor, I think this might be a mistake, but that may be my ignorance speaking. They added more to it. And I know why they did it. They did it because they wanted to solidify that this was in service of the campaign. That is vitally important to their case. So they started listing off other stories that David Pecker was involved in to go on the attack for Donald Trump during the campaign. They listed off several of them. Four of the primary ones that you've heard about before are the Ted Cruz's father was caught with the JFK assassin. Everybody's actually seen this headline before. If you've been to the grocery store, this was all over the place. That story was put out on behalf of Donald Trump. Michael Cohen called David Pecker and said, "We have a story for you. We want you to amplify it and embellish it." So we had this one. There was one about little Marco, about having a love child that was also put out there. Then there was this nonsense about Ben Carson leaving a sponge in a kid's brain. If you look in the upper left-hand corner there, they were attacking Ben Carson. This was all in service of the campaign during 2016. He was attacking all of his primary opponents before they dropped out of the race. This just makes it ironclad that aspect of the case that they have to produce is dead to rights done. I mean, not only did they show the jury that they did it, not only did they tell them that, they showed them a complete functioning process for this to happen. Here we have, accusations about Ted Cruz and hookers, and that story's about hookers and mistresses and all kinds of salacious stuff about Ted Cruz. But just story after story after story. And it really, again, it hit me, just that inner grossness, that I want to be away from this, just because we go back to our Goebbels meme. We go back to the Goebbels meme. Accuse the other side of that which you are guilty. How many times did you see Donald Trump? Fake news. It's fake news. It's fake news. All the while paying the Inquirer to pump out fake news on his behalf. Yes, Phil, it is always projection with these people. Always. Just always. I mean, how many times did you hear that? Fake news. It's fake news. All while having an entire system in place to pump out fake news, to attack his opponents. And there is, I mean, there's just, I mean, I could just keep going on and on and on about headlines where he attacked Hillary Clinton, where he attacked David Pecker was his outlet. And what really disgusts me is how the corporate media, the folks that were supposed to be the news, picked up so many of these stories. I'm telling you, I know I'm not getting I know I've got to work on my impression. I've got to work on my impression. I didn't get the accordion quite right, as somebody else pointed out in there. I can't do Donald. I can't do a Bronx accent. I can't do a New York Bronx accent. I can't do it. This is as close as I get. This is fake news. But folks, I have to tell you, this is really all of this. And I've told you before, the Republican Party lashed itself to Donald Trump. They all climbed onto the SS Donald Trump. Forgive me. Getting over a cold. They all lashed themselves to the SS Donald Trump. And they're all going to go down with the ship. It's just gobsmacking to watch this happen. Peter Campbell says the first thing the cult does is tell you everyone else is lying. Yeah. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? And you're right. It is Queens. It is Queens. He's from Queens, not the Bronx, but I just Vits and fake news. It's never fake. You say fake. I say fake. Everybody, he says fake. It's fake news. Anyways, it's not important. Let's talk about things that are important. This stuff with the trials, not the important news about Donald Trump or the Republican Party. It's not. We have some very, very, very good news about the state of our country in general. You know, Pennsylvania just had their Republican primary, folks. And Donald Trump has to be having nightmares about this. You know how long Nikki Haley's been out of the race? She took 16, almost 17% of the vote in the Pennsylvania primary. Yeah, just happened. Just happened. If you took this out of context, if you just took it out of context and you look at these numbers, this would be bad. This would be a nightmare for the Republicans because Democrats don't show up for primaries. This is the Democratic primary in Pennsylvania. You had 1 million people that showed up. And Democrats don't show up. Trust me, I'm a Democrat. I'm a strategist. I am telling you, Democrats don't show up in off-year elections. They don't show up at primaries. It is like pulling teeth. We move heaven and earth to get Democrats to show up for these things. 1 million Democrats showed up. Republican primary, you're looking at 950. They should be 1.5 times our numbers at least if they're going to compete. And that's if you just take it out of context. If you put it in context, this is even worse. Folks, 17% of Republicans that bothered to vote in a primary that's already decided. So they're not voting for Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form. They got up, got dressed, and went to the polls just to make the 17% of Republicans, just to make the statement, we are never voting for Donald Trump. Folks, that's a blowout come election time. That is a disaster. If you are a Republican right now, you are in cold sweats. I mean, a real Republican, not these MAGA douchebags that this is entertainment and their new sport. Politics is their new entertainment. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you are a actual Republican, as in part of the party, you are in cold sweats right now, folks, because that's 17%. That's just the people that went to the trouble of showing up to say, we're not voting for Trump ever. Folks, there's another 6, 8, 10%. You're talking 25 to 30% of Republican voters in Pennsylvania that are not going to show up for Donald Trump. And that's it. That's the whole election. All you have to do is show up as Democrats. All you have to do is show up and vote. The Republican Party, lashing itself to the SS Donald Trump, has done it all for us. They literally shot themselves in both feet, poured gasoline on themselves, lit themselves on fire. All you have to do is show up and vote. And we will fix all of the disasters in which they have been creating nationwide. Folks, this puts every red state in play. And if you think I'm kidding, we need to talk about Moyle. We need to talk about Moyle. This is a Moyle, but this is not the Moyle we're talking about. This is not the kind of Moyle we're talking about. A Moyle is someone that performs a bris or a circumcision. No, that's not what we're talking about. This is the Moyle we're talking about. Ladies, this is Mike Moyle. He's Speaker of the House of Idaho. In Moyle versus the United States, this is the Moyle. This is the guy that thinks he is in a position to tell women what they can and cannot do with their bodies. This is the guy that thinks he's smarter than all the doctors. This is the guy that thinks it's his position in the world to tell people what they can and cannot do with their doctors and their health care. That's it. That's the face of it right there. Soak it in. Katie Carroll says, I heard Republicans are not showing up because they are not voting for Trump. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about, Katie. Thanks for the support, Barbara. Love that you folks are so informed. Chris Waltalis says, Moyle is a concrete mogul in the Upper Peninsula. I wonder if there's a connection. Yeah. This is actually a very big deal. The Supreme Court is hearing arguments as we speak on Moyle v. the United States. This comes from Idaho's Defense of Life Act, which has nothing to do with defending life at all. It is the most draconian abortion bill out there. It is on par with what Arizona's old territorial 1846 law, but worse. It's worse. Idaho's law isn't just like Texas's law where it says, oh, well, you got, if a woman comes in and says, my water broke, I'm having a miscarriage. And here in Texas, they say, well, we can't treat you. You need to go outside and wait till you're dying. And then we'll treat you then. In Idaho, they just won't treat you. They'll send a doctor to jail for 5 years, strip his license. See, there's a law in the books. It's called EMTALA. It's the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. Folks are pretty familiar with the concept that if you go to an emergency room, they've got to stabilize you. They've got to treat you. That, my friends, is history. When the Supreme Court gets done with this. Lady C. Hag, thank you. I appreciate the support. EMTALA is the law that says if you take federal dollars, if someone is presented to you in your emergency room, you have to treat them. You have to stabilize them. There's actually verbiage within the law that says you have to stabilize them to avoid serious impairment to bodily functions or dysfunction of any bodily organ or part. An example would be you're in a car wreck and your hand is crushed. You show up at the emergency room. You're not going to die. You're not going to die. Your life is not in danger, but you're going to lose your hand. They have to treat you. They have to try to save that hand. That's what EMTALA does. It's the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. And they didn't pass this law because it was Tuesday and they were bored. They passed this law because hospitals constantly refused treatment for anybody that was uninsured. And the results were horrific. People were just dying. People were just having limbs amputated that didn't need to be amputated. Women were giving birth in frickin' alleys because hospitals didn't want to treat them. So they passed EMTALA. And it's been the law of the land that most of us are accustomed to. It's what we grew up with. Idaho's law takes EMTALA and throws it out the window. See, everywhere else, Katie Carroll says, what these men, in quotes, men, not us Democrats, do realize is that with cloning and all the reproductive advances, women don't need men to reproduce. That's a good point, Katie Carroll. It's a good point, but I don't want to lose track of what we're talking about here, Katie. This is incredibly important because this isn't just about abortion rights. It isn't, which is, women's rights are just incredible. This is it. This is the most important thing facing us because it doesn't stop there. And that's the point of what I'm trying to get across here. The Supreme Court is going to do this, folks. They're really going to gut EMTALA. And it's not just over abortion. Because when they gut EMTALA, all of these healthcare corporations that run hospitals that have been trying for years to be able to kick patients back out into the parking lot are going to be able to do it. That's exactly what we're going back to, folks. Is the bad old days. I mean, this is just, you have to vote Democrat. You have to vote Democrat. You do. Mr. Newton, good to see you, my friend. These religious, I quote, religious guys must think women has massive concrete between their ears. So women vote them out and leave them single and frustrated. Yeah. I've got a little different take on this, folks. I do. I look at this differently. These people keep trying to criminalize someone ending an abortion, or pardon me, ending a pregnancy. If someone's ending a pregnancy for one reason or not, that woman just doesn't want to be pregnant. And to me, that's enough. Jessica McKenzie says, Texas Paul, I feel like these handmaid's tales is our reality because of these evil politicians and judges. I'm scared. You should be. You should be. You know, we warned folks for years that they were going to do this stuff. And here they are doing it. Folks, this is a twofer for them. Like I said, it's not just the most draconian laws. And I can't stress to you enough. Right now, in just about any state with abortion laws that are in place that these Republicans have put in place, right now, if a woman is having a miscarriage, or they have to try to save her uterus, that's the law. They have to try to save her reproductive rights. In Idaho, they don't have to do that anymore. See, they passed this law, and the DOJ filed for an injunction to stop it. Said no, EMTALA is the federal law. It's the law of the land. And the way primacy works is if you have two laws, a state or municipal, whatever law, and a federal law, and those laws conflict, the federal law wins. It's just that simple. It's always been that way. It's in the Constitution. Federal laws have primacy. This decision that's going to come out of the Supreme Court ends all of that. It is going to give primacy to a state law under the guise of religious freedom. So under the guise of religious freedom, they're going to gut, not just shred women's rights, not just say, we're going to take a woman that has a miscarriage. We're not going to try to save her ability to reproduce. We're not going to try to save her uterus. We're not going to try to help her. Our primary goal in Idaho, if you show up, is to try to drag that pregnancy out to 28, 29, 30 weeks. Because at that point, we can force you into a C-section and birth the child. And to me, that's just, it's insanity. It's insanity. Katie Carroll says, we have to get term limits retroactive for SCOTUS. What we need to do is we need to destroy finish what they started. They lashed themselves to the deck of the SS Trump. Trump is driving Republicans away in droves. Mike Moyle, Mike Johnson, all of these people are driving people away from the Republican Party in droves. Show up this election and finish the job. Destroy the Republican Party. Make room for another party to come up. We're a two-party system, folks. If you destroy the Republican Party, it's not going to be a Democratic Party dictatorship. It's not. Immediately, a second party will spring up in its place. Immediately. Christopher Jones says, if the R's are going to force women to have babies, then they're all aboard to increase funding for childcare, right? No. And that's a great, thank you. That's a great segue to the point I want to make. If these are the new laws of the land, you're stripping women of their humanity, then let's talk about that. Because what's the crime? Is it the crime that a woman who does not want to be pregnant is ending a pregnancy? Or is it the crime, which is what I believe it is, that a woman that did not want to be pregnant was impregnated? I mean, let's just get down to it. I think the majority of America agrees in somebody like Katie Cox's position, where she actually wanted to be pregnant. That pregnancy failed. I think any sane person already agrees that we should give her the treatment she needs. Once we destroy the Republican Party, that's going to be an easy one. Mr. Newton says, state law must never supersede federal law. That's insane. Show no mercy for the Republican Party. The end. Thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Stick with me here, folks, because I'm going to go to a place that even women tend to be like, whoa, wait a minute. This is my belief. I don't believe it's a crime when a woman ends a pregnancy when she does not want to be pregnant. We're going to set aside all of the Kate Coxes. We're going to set aside all of those things that we all agree. We all 100% agree. We're going to fix that. As soon as we destroy the Republican Party, we're going to fix that. What I want to talk about is changing our society and the way we look at women and their rights. Ben Reeves said, I'm so sick of the statement, keep your legs closed, when maybe it should include keep your male member in your pants. Thank you. That is the perfect segue for where I'm going right here. To me, the crime occurs when you impregnate a woman who does not want to be pregnant. So a woman can't get pregnant. She cannot reproduce asexually. She can't just, bing, I'm pregnant. Let me think about it. I'm pregnant now. No. For a woman to become pregnant, she must be injected with a man's sperm. Another human being must inject their sperm into her. And we're not talking about people that are trying to get pregnant and in vitro fertilization, this, that, and the other. Yeah, please don't be too smart by half and come at me about, well, there are other ways. No, for a woman to become pregnant, yes, I remember very, very clearly Clayton Williams and his rape is like bad weather if you can't do anything about it. Just sit back and enjoy it. Yes, that man actually said that. Running for governor of the state of Texas. Lost to Ann Richards, one of the greatest governors we ever had. But I want you to stick with me, folks, because this is serious. This is something I believe in my soul. This is what I'm going to push for. This is what I'm going to advocate for. If you impregnate a woman who does not want to be impregnated, that has a mandatory 18-year jail sentence and a $237,482 fine. I'm going to let people recoil for a second. There's going to be a lot of women out there. I get this all the time, especially from moms who don't want their sons to spend 18 years in prison and pay a $237,482 fine for impregnating a woman who does not want to be impregnated. And I've even come up with a system for it. I have. See, a woman can't get impregnated unless you inject your sperm into her. You have to do that to her. And if she doesn't want it, You have sentenced her to 18 years minimum of raising a child, and the average cost of raising a child in the United States, average cost, some places it's more, is $237,000 and $237,482 here in the United States. Actually, it's more because of inflation now. I mean, it's gone up. Trina Longa says, I'm shocked to hear about the cruel healthcare system you have. If you visited Denmark and needed medical care, you would get it. The hospital wouldn't ask for money. You know, the way it should be, the way it is in most first world nations. Thank you, Trina, for pointing that out for folks that are here. They hear it. It's really good to have a person actually saying that's really our Canadian friends. If you could share, hey, share your stories, please. Our British friends, our friends in the UK, don't let them privatize the National Institute of Health. Don't let them do it. Every American here in chat will tell you what it's like under a for-profit system. Do not let them privatize the National Institutes of Health. Don't let them do it. Here's my system. Men are kind of stupid, and I hate to put any burden on women when it comes to their rights, because they should just have their damn rights. They should. But I've actually come up with a system to make this work. You know, in football, or as we like to call it here in the United States, soccer, there's a system. If you foul or can if you foul or commit a penalty, there's two types. There's a violent penalty and there's a nonviolent penalty, and they've got a system for telling people. The referee will run up to you and they'll hold up a card. If there was violence involved, they'll hold up a red card. If there was nonviolence involved, they'll hold up a yellow card. And it's a plain, it's a clear system. Everybody gets it. Everybody understands. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. Stupid men understand the system. So I've come up with a system for women to deal with incredibly stupid men around them. Roxanne Argenbright says, what kind of monster does not want health care for women? Republican monsters. The NHS. I said NIH. Thank you for correcting me. It's the NHS. So I've come up with a 3-card system for women. And I'm actually going to put this on I'm going to figure out a way to get these in mass. We made these. I'm going to find a way to get these in mass. We're going to put them on the Texas Paul store for anybody that would like to share this and support this. It'll be there. Katie Carroll says, love it. Texas Paul, moms should have taught their sons better if they don't like it. Yeah. But the number of women that will actually argue against this is insane. It is super high. I actually get more pushback from women than I do from men. But this is the system I've got for you, folks. It'll work. It really worked. In the pack, you're going to get a ton of these. These are red cards. And what these red cards mean, right, is you and I are in a relationship of some sort, whether it be casual, whether it be we just met each other, or you're my boss, or you're a guy that I'm going out on a date with, or any type of relationship, no matter the range of how casual to serious. This card I'm giving to you means we're in a relationship that does not involve sex. There is no sex in this relationship. Here's your red card. Pretty clear. Everybody gets it. It's goddamn disgusting that I have to actually think that women would need to tell somebody that. But yeah, that's what the red card means. We are in a relationship that does not involve sex in any way, shape, or form. A yellow card. That's for a guy that you want to sleep with. Hey, guy, we're out on a date and you might get lucky. Here's a yellow card for you. We're in a relationship where there may be sex, but you may not impregnate me. We can have sex. You cannot make me pregnant. That is what the yellow card is for. Pretty clear. Then there is the green card. The green card is really simple. Daddy, let's make a baby. Daddy, let's make a baby. Knock me up. Here you go, my man. Let's do this. I think it's a great system. I really do. I mean, what's your boss going to say when you walk in and you drop a red card on his desk? Boom. We're in a relationship and you ain't getting laid here. There's no arguing. And I believe 100% that if a woman is impregnated and she does not want to be, she should be able to pick up the phone, call the police, not a non-emergency number, call the police and say, yes, I have been impregnated and I did not want to be. The man with which I had sex, whatever the circumstances of that be, impregnated me against my will. And the police go talk to that man. And we will establish a system where you register your green cards. If that man does not have a registered green card with your signature and your registration that said, I am giving this man the ability to impregnate me, that man is guilty as charged of impregnating a woman against her will, 18 years in jail, $237,482 fine. Boom. Done. Problem solved. Actually, it's not. And that's the most disgusting part about it, because the woman I love more than anything in the world immediately pointed out to me when I described this to her, the hugest fallacy in my plan. The murder rate would skyrocket. And it would. And that's the damn sad part about it. And this is where I want your input. We're at the part of the show where we do the round table. And this is the part that I have granddaughters. I have daughters. And just saying this stuff it gets me. It really does. But when we start holding men accountable for their portion of this, violence against women is going to skyrocket. And we know it. You know it. I know it. I think if anybody commits violence against a woman because they impregnated her against her will, should carry the death penalty. And I don't even support the death penalty. I don't. I don't. I think the death penalty is a mistake. I think people should be forced to live out with great health care and all the food that they can eat for the rest of their lives to live the longest. They should be exercised daily so that they live the longest possible life in confinement possible. Because I think the cruelest thing you can do to these insane, disgusting, sick bastards is to make them live within their own mind. I think that's much crueler than just putting them out of their misery. And I'm in it for the cruelty. Pedophiles, all the cruelty in the world. Kathy Christian says she's worked in prisons. They are no picnic. Yeah, I agree. 100%. Bishop says, what about accidents? What if birth control fails? Plus, Mrs. Paul is right about murder. You know, I get it. I get what you're saying. A condom breaks or whatnot. You know what? Vasectomies are reversible. If you want to be 100%, you can be 100%. And if you started holding men responsible, there would be male birth control pills. There just would. I mean, there already are, but they would actually be better. If you held men accountable, they would suddenly find ways to deal with this. Condoms would be made out of that same freaking plastic material that they wrap all the shit you can't unpackage anymore. They wouldn't break because men don't put up with that stuff. Mr. Newton says, we have enough murders and close relations already, so your wife has it. It is a great point. It is a great point. It is. I mean, to hold men accountable, you will have more violence, but I'm not okay with that excuse. I'm just not okay with that excuse. I mean, aren't we better as a people? I mean, that's what these laws are about, right? I mean, they're about expressing who and what we are and our values. Well, look, folks, that's what I have for you today. We have time for a roundtable if you'd like. Any comments or questions or anything that's going on you'd like to talk about. But yeah, that's what I have for you today, folks. Lynn Gordon, great comment. In Canada, we have taxpayer-funded healthcare. Marijuana is legal, no death penalty, strict immigration, and gun laws. Hard to understand why the USA doesn't. Republicans take each and every one of those issues. Taxpayer-funded healthcare. Democrats are for it. Republicans are against it. Marijuana is legal. Democrats are for it. Republicans are against it because they use marijuana as a way to arrest brown people. They do. Nixon said it when they passed the laws, when they made marijuana Schedule 1. He said it. It is to arrest peaceniks and brown people. Their administration has since given interview after interview after interview where they have just outright said it. No death penalty. I agree. I understand the want for vengeance and the want to eliminate from our society the worst. But again, I'm in it for the cruelty. And I think the worst thing you can do to someone like Charles Manson is make him live in a cell with Charles Manson for the rest of his life. And make that life as long as freaking possible. Because every day is hell for that guy. Every day. Strict immigration laws. Democrats are desperately trying to fix the immigration system. It's unfair. It's unjust. It doesn't do what we want it to do. Legally, it doesn't do what we want it to do. It needs to be fixed. Democrats want to do it. What do Republicans want to do? They want to spend $1 billion on a wall. You know, I don't know the exact year. I'm going to go find it. If one of you folks know it, the exact year in which walls became obsolete. Do you know in a siege, I mean, this goes all the way back to Genghis Khan. In a siege, do you know who loses? Every time. Without fail. It's the person behind the walls. See, the people outside the walls have freedom of movement and can do anything and everything they need to do. The walls have not been a functioning, useful system since what? 650 AD? Maybe earlier than that. But that's what the Republicans want to do. They want to take a system. Walls work for petty crime. They do. The walls, all walls do is send bad people to easier targets. Really. I mean, if somebody really wants what you got, a fence or a wall is not going to stop them. They aren't. All a wall does is send them to an easier target. And Republicans want to spend billions on these stupid for show things. And Democrats want to actually fix the systems, use modern technology to fix the systems. You know, my governor just tried to brag because DPS pulled a truck over down by the border that had come across the border, and it had 200 pounds of speed in it. I was like, woo, look what I did. Yay, I did something. Because I've been railing about everybody else. They've spent in total, if you start from the beginning, when this whole Russian op started, it's like $112 billion they've wasted on this and have virtually nothing to show for it. For him to get this one arrest was like everything. But again, it's just a failure. Because we Democrats were trying to put the sensors down at the border, more of the sensors down at the border, so that we can catch those trucks as they come across. The sensors are, think about like drug dogs, but they're drug dogs that never fail. And we tried to beef that system up to make it so that every truck can be hit. And Republicans, no, we're not passing it. Peter Campbell, every time a member of the State House of U.S. or U.S. Congress brings up limits on women's reproductive freedoms, we must demand in response, at a minimum, full prenatal care, full child care, full responsibility, and demand on the father. You know what? I'm not okay with that, Peter. I'm not. I mean, I agree that every woman should have that anyways. So I agree with you there. But not as a response to them trying to limit abortion. I'm not doing that anymore. If a woman doesn't want to be pregnant, she doesn't have to be pregnant. It's her body, her right. A woman cannot be pregnant asexually. Someone has to do this to her. It's time we hold men responsible for unwanted pregnancies. Benaloco says, cannabis saved my life. I hear you. I've seen your story. I understand. A lot of people have been helped. Go watch the movie Lorenzo's Oil. It's a good movie with Sigourney Weaver. It's a good movie. You have children that have seizures. And they found out that utilizing CBD could mitigate and sometimes completely stop seizures. But the federal government fought them the entire way to the point of arresting people, criminalizing what they're trying to do to save their children's lives. It's based on a true story. It's a good movie. Go see it, Lorenzo's Oil. Get out that vote, people. Help people get ballot measures out. Help people get registered. Amen, ET. Amen. It's on, folks. It's election time. It is election time. Check your registration. Make sure you're good. Check it again before the election. Jeanette Dahl, more of our Denmark audience, man. I love you folks. All Americans must get involved. Also in the small urban communities. There's a need to make change in all the political players that are in the United States. Yes, absolutely. I know Democrats don't vote because they're like, this is a red area. My vote don't matter. It matters because there are more of you than you know. Folks, just look at the Pennsylvania primary. You're talking 25 to 30% of Republicans that are saying, we're not down with this. This isn't happening. We're just not down with this. these folks are they're just waiting for somebody to join with. In 5-10 years, these folks are Democrats. If we just keep doing the work, get out there and vote. That's all you got to do, man. It's one of the best memes I've ever seen is talking about D-Day, talking about your grandfathers, and that'd be your great grandfathers with the generations we've got coming up. They had to face machine gun fire and hails of bullets, landmines, razor wire, and everything else under the sun to fight to put an end to fascism. All you got to do is get up and vote in November. That's it. Take a day off. That's it. That's all you got to do. It's easy. Let's do this. And folks, this is for the folks out there that love history. They will tell you history is slow as hell until it happens, and then it's incredibly fast. We're in one of those moments. We're in one of those moments. The Republican Party is dead. It's dead as disco. And when an animal's dying, I don't care if it's a deer, if you like to hunt deer, you know this. You don't run up after you shoot a deer and just run up on it. You don't do it. Because the most dangerous time for any animal, even an animal as placid and peaceful as a deer, is when they're dying. And that's the Republican Party right now. That's the Republican Party right now. Sabrina Robbins says, keep doing what you're doing. I think some people are waking up. We are making a difference. We are, folks. We are really making a difference, folks. We are. Hey, you got another Dane in the audience. All right. I love our Danish folks. I really do. I'm going to find a good story to talk to you about Denmark and Norway and Sweden and all of Scandinavia up there. Maybe we'll talk about Finland and the immigration crisis and whatnot, just so that we can get some visuals. I'm telling you, folks, we can do better here in the United States. We can. And if you look at their streets, the way they do things, their architecture, it's a really beautiful part of the world. Great to get that infusion. It really is. All right. We got a few minutes left. Do we have another question or comment? Let's do it. Adrian knew one. I live in a very red state, but I vote blue every single time. Salt Lake City County here in Utah has gone blue. During the special election to replace Stewart, the Democrat beat the Republican by 30 points. I'm telling you, folks. I'm telling you. It is really happening. It's really happening. When the Republicans quit being the party of, well, we're not really going to overturn abortion. That's a states' rights issue. We just want some folks that really want that in their area. And that was the only threat. People were like, oh, well, we'll take a look at Republicans and see what you have to say. And they listen to their nonsense on other issues. Foreign policy, the disastrous foreign policy that Republicans have been bringing us for decades. But they talked a good fight. They really did. They talked a good fight on the economy, too. They sold trickle down like crazy. People have had enough. All of their messages have been destroyed. Like I said, history is very slow, and then it happens in the blink of an eye. And that's what's happening here. That's what's happening here. Kevin K., to be brutally honest, 2 points. One, the Republicans are very, very good at marketing towards the worst instincts of the Hispanic population. They are. Ever hear the word machismo? That's real. That's real. I grew up in South Texas. I can talk to you about Mexicans all day long, Hispanics all day long. And I can tell you that the macho mentality is very real. There's a huge segment of the Hispanic population that is anti-gay. Why do you think that the Republican Party is constantly anti-LGBTQ+? Because folks like Christopher Rufo, that works for the Manhattan Institute, understands the psychology of the Hispanic population. And they know no Hispanic man is going to go vote for trans. Well, I say no, that's the wrong way to put that. A large enough portion of Hispanic men are not going to vote to support trans rights. In fact, they will show up and vote against their own self-interests out of their own biases. That's true. The Republicans have done a very good job in the state of Texas of making issues about that and other things like it. The other problem we have is it's been a quarter century that Republicans have pretty much dominated the state. There's a lot of Democrats out there that just don't even bother. They're not even registered. They're Democrats in what they believe. They're Democrats in their policies, and they would vote Democrat if they bothered to vote. Texas has the largest pool in the country of untapped Democratic voters. That's the fight that I fight every day. And your stories, thank you, Barbara Stout, I appreciate you. And your stories about living in a red district and getting out to vote, that story that you just shared about Salt Lake is everything. Everything. Every one of these red districts we flip is huge because that gets a Democrat down here in Texas to say, maybe we can do this. And believe me, if we could just get every Democrat to show up and vote, Texas wouldn't be purple. It would be deep, deep blue. We have about a 15% advantage over Republicans. They don't believe in this anti-abortion stuff. They don't. We just have radical churches here in the state of Texas. We have a lot. We are the belt buckle on the Bible Belt. We have a ton of crazy cult churches that get out every election and work their asses off to turn out Republican voters. Our Norwegian audience, I love our Norwegians, man. That's where Germany and Norway, that's where my kin's from. Camelia Peterson, I thank the Allied forces for their service and for liberating Europe during World War II. Team. That's what Joe Biden is reminding everybody. We're a team, and it's working. It's working. President Biden, Mari Felix says, President Biden just signed the foreign aid bill. We're going to have a whole segment on TikTok. We are. There's a lot of people saying that they're not going to vote Democrat because they're going to sign that TikTok ban. Folks, Katie Carroll, thank you for the support. I really appreciate your patronage. I really do. I really do, Katie. I do. You don't know how you are saddling a huge portion of the burden, and I'm grateful. Thank you. The TikTok bill. The Republicans stuck that in the Indo-Pacific security bill for a reason. We have been trying to help Taiwan build it. And again, that is not money that's going to Taiwan. That is money that is going to American companies that are helping Taiwan build nuclear submarines. A huge percentage of that money is going to be spent right here in our economy. Taiwan doesn't have the heavy infrastructure to build and the technology to build modern submarines. That's going to go, a lot of that's going to be spent here. And it's vital. It ends if they can field the 10 modern submarines that they want to field, that changes everything in their dynamic with China. That's why China, they're desperate to stop this. They are. So they stuck the TikTok bill in that funding. It's not a standalone bill. Joe Biden didn't just sign a bill to ban TikTok. He didn't. He signed a bill to fund the Indo-Pacific security. Now, what does this mean? And Democrats didn't stick that bill in there. Democrats didn't write that bill. Democrats didn't want to pass that bill. So what's going to happen going forward? It's really simple. If you get out, if you vote Democrat, we will take TikTok out of that bill with some caveats. And this is good. This is a good thing. Because when they remove TikTok, politically, they can't. They can't just say, we're going to save TikTok. Because TikTok does those things that we don't want companies to do. They track all of our movements, our information. They listen to us. My phone is laying right here. I promise you, my phone right now, as I'm doing this show, my phone is listening to every word I say. And if I say, you know what? I want to go buy some Depends underwear. I'm going to get a commercial. I'm going to get an ad for Depends underwear now. I am. Why? Because Google listens to me, every bit of it. And then they take that information and they sell it. So that's what TikTok does. TikTok does the same thing. When they got TikTok out of that, it's going to include measures to stop that, to curb it, to roll that back, to give you your privacy back. Because nobody understood when you bought your phone that the deal was that you were going to be recorded 24/7. Did you believe that was the deal? Is anybody in chat? Did anybody believe that the deal was that when you bought your phone that you would be recorded 24/7? Anybody? No. So the agreements that they put forward for you to sign are worthless. Every one of us has agreed. If you're using a phone, you're watching the show. So you have already agreed. You've signed their terms of service that allows them to record you and sell your information. You just did. You have. All of us have. All of us have. But it wasn't your understanding that was part of this. So legally, these agreements are actually worthless. All they do is give them grounds to fight it out in court. And that's what's going to happen. Yes, President Biden's going to sign the TikTok ban because it's not a standalone bill. It's part of the Indo-Pacific security bill. Republicans did it that way on purpose. When we Democrats destroy the Republican Party in the next election, we will go back. We will gut that portion of the bill. We'll repeal that portion of the bill, but we won't do it as a standalone measure. Politically, that would be suicide to do that. They'll do it with reforms guaranteeing your privacy. That's what will happen. So yeah, that's the silver lining in all of the TikTok thing. Exactly, Faith. Exactly. Because right now, what you're getting on TikTok, I'm on TikTok. I am. You can go watch my videos on TikTok. Right now, what you're getting on TikTok is you're getting Russian trolls that are the wind behind well-intentioned people that are trying to say, if they sign that TikTok bill, I'm not voting Democrat. And the Russians are trying to amplify that like crazy right now. So you're going to see tons of that on TikTok. You'll see it on Instagram also. You need to push back on that. That's why I'll constantly tell you about your importance. Constantly tell you about your importance. Yeah, it's a challenge. Jessica McKenzie says, Texas politics is going to hinder Democrats. Yeah, it's a challenge. The fight never stops, folks. The fight never stops. Life comes at you fast, and things will come at us as Democrats that we have to deal with, and they always will. It will never be just, hey, we like to do the right thing. All right, let's go on vacation. That's never going to happen. I will, to the day I die, have a job fighting these fights. I will. As long as I can do it, I will have this job. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge. But you folks, I keep stressing to you, it's not hyperbole. It's not anything that, it's just self-serving or any of that stuff. Trying to blow, as my dad would say, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. My dad used to gross me out when he'd say that. I'm like, I don't need that visual, Dad. Thank you very much. Yeah, when I say you're important, when I say you're the important part of this entire show, I'm one man, one voice. As much as you share this and hit the thumbs up button and get this out to audiences, that's all well and good. That's fantastic. But you folks are the multiplier. You are the power. You are the power. You look at any person in history that we hold up and say, this person did amazing things. I will tell you, no, he didn't. Unless it was a scientist working in a lab somewhere, and even they didn't do it by themselves. They had armies behind them doing the right thing, and they just get the credit for it. You're that army. Stoneflower Dragon says there will be another company. There will be another company that will move into the TikTok market. That is the American way. Yeah, the ban doesn't go into place immediately. It'll take a year, but there are already other companies. That's the hilariously hypocritical part about this is doesn't do anything about reels on YouTube, on this very platform. It doesn't do anything about Instagram. It doesn't do anything about any of the Snapchat. None of it. It just TikTok. That's all. Anyways, folks, we're out of time. Thank you for being here. Thanks for doing the show again with me. I really appreciate you. You're wonderful people. I love the input. You always reaffirm my faith in humanity. Thank you. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.